What is the true nature of the Winter Queen? How exactly is she Elune's sister? For what purpose was she installed to the afterlife machine? And are the Shadowlands even the true realms of death? Welcome, heroes. My name is Xaxxas, covering for our still MIA Knowledge Goblin. And today, we're touching on a mystery that challenges all that we think we know about the Winter Queen, Elune, and the Eternal Ones, sprawling into a deceptively simple question: what is the true nature of death in the Shadowlands? Our quest for answers will take us across the astral planes of the Twisting Nether.
New voice, what the fuck? No, his actual voice.
Contemplating the calcified blue soul crystals of an ancient troll legend.
Oh,
Along
I didn't
the
even
way,
know about
we'll
that.
connect the
Oh, that
dots
whatever that
between
thing was
Naru's
there anyway.
souls,
I know
the
about
Winter
the whole
Queen's
crystal.
mysterious cosmic spirit, and a conspiracy to imprison life itself in the so-called realm of death. Firstly, do Naru have souls? Back in
Good
Legion,
question.
when we were aiding the Prime Naru Zera to
Astral
revive
presence.
Illidan's Stormrage, it would seem that she is able to communicate through a, quote, astral presence to the player character, even though her physical form is disassembled at the time. This distinction of physical and astral presence indicates that the Naru, at least a Prime Naru, does essentially possess what we would consider a soul, which she calls her astral presence. But why bother with the roundabout phrasing? This may be a clue not only to how the Naru think, but to what a soul is and where it comes from. Because in Warcraft, the primary astral dimension that we deal with is the Twisting Nether.
Right.
The Nether is usually painted as a realm of instability and demonic influence, where evil lurks in uncounted forms. It is the realm that we know demon souls return to when slain, where their spirit regenerates and prepares to invade reality once again. Now allow me to draw a comparison. Ardenweld and the Emerald Dream are realms where wild souls return to when slain, where their spirit regenerates and prepares to enter reality once again. Curious how similar these systems of renewal are, no? But what if it's no coincidence? After all, druids are known for dealing in astral magics, so the nature of the Emerald Dream being that of an astral plane checks out. And of course, a shaman's astral recall spell yanks the caster through the Twisting Nether as a means of transportation.
But I saw in this video that shamans had nothing to do with the Twisting Nether. Damn.
So what's the common denominator between druidism and shamanism in this regard? Spirit. If Draenei souls can be used by dark shamans and warlocks to power a portal through the Nether to another world, what does this tell us about the Twisting Nether and the key resources it deals in? When the player character's consciousness is projected to Zera's astral presence in the Great Dark Beyond, does it stand to reason that our soul was yanked through the astral plane to her soul?
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna discuss this, but this cinematic occurs when you're asleep. And I don't think that most people know that. The reason why you can know this is because you commune with Zera this way by connecting, I believe you speak to the Light's heart. You wake up, however, in the infirmary in Dalaran. You wake up. You were asleep. Zera's speaking to you in your dreams.
Zera's astral presence functions independently of her disassembled physical form.
Which is
and
how Mereldarf was first contacted by the Naru as well, in her dreams.
This distinction between corporeal and incorporeal existence is more than semantics, it's the very definition of what we call a soul. The Naru may label it an astral presence to differentiate themselves from mortal souls they work with or consume, but the function is undeniably parallel. And if Naru souls can exist beyond their bodies, can they also inhabit new vessels? This is where I bring in Xalatath. We know that she's not an old god because of Illyria's confirmation, and I suspect that she
People
may have
still speculate about whether or not Zal's the fifth old god. It drives me insane, and you can tell that those people did not pay attention during the questing. Because this is very overt. The Harbingers from the Black Empire, one of the old gods? No. Flat out, no. Not maybe, not perhaps, no. something else. A survivor from the depths of time. Not an old god.
He's not an old god because of Illyria's confirmation. And I suspect that she may have in fact...
People will make the statement, well, what if Illyria's wrong? Remember that a real human being who's trying to get you to understand the story wrote the dialogue, right? So if they write Illyria saying flat out that no, she's not an old god, we should probably stop fucking saying that.
Type of dark or void Naru before her spirit was trapped inside the blade of the Black Empire.
Yeah.
You can check out the video on my channel.
Great
for
video.
More clarification there.
Really good video.
And if we guess that Xalatath might be a Naru based on her subtle visual cues and...
Subtle visual cues. You're more generous than I. It's really not subtle.
Importantly, her behavior and functions, then allow me to take things a step...
The way that they show her floating around, she has the Naru black hole thing, like, it's not even subtle. It's very overt.
...further and ask you, what about the Winter Queen?
But when you're doing this like Xaxxas, you have to say that it's subtle because you'll get these fucking idiots out there that are like, it's not, she doesn't look like a Naru. How's it obvious? So you have to literally say subtle because you'll get these fucking morons who just will say that it's not, They're just, it's crazy.
Queen. If Xalatath is revealed to be a disembodied Naru spirit, then suddenly a precedent is set for us to explore whether or not this has happened before. So let's roll it back to Shadow.
Blizzard had enough of people not understanding subtle hints. You think the Titans are benevolent? Here are giant Titan death robots. Well, no, they're causing problems with that as well, because now people are just saying, like, you know, damn the Titans and all the Titans, which is also stupid because, as I've said before, there are those who are not, they're not all doing the same thing. It's not, all the Titans are not equally doing the bad thing. It's not all Titans. And people, now they don't have the nuance to stop. It's always like this, bro. This is the perpetual state of my speculation is, guys, Chronicle's deceiving you, and the Titans, what they tell you about the beginnings and everything is not exactly true. The things that we know are deceiving, right? Then it turns into, oh, Chronicle's not canon at all, so it's not worth listening to. Now it's, oh, the Titans aren't bad. You know, they're not bad, they're benevolent. And now it's me trying to tell people it's individual, right? Like some of them are good and some of them are not. And now people can't see that. Now they're like, oh, now fuck the Titans. It's a perpetual fucking circle of people not being able to have the nuance to recognize that, like, it's not just black and white.
Lands and ask, what's the deal with the Eternal Ones and their so-called cosmic spirits? The Dungeon Journal profile for the prototype Pantheon boss fight in the Sepulchre of the First Ones reads as follows, quote, bereft of the cosmic spirits of the Eternal Ones, these incomplete host bodies can only carry out their base directives without mercy or compassion. So, just what are these cosmic spirits? Were they created or captured? And is there anything special about an Eternal One in the first place?
Really good question.
For this answer, we can look to Pelagos, a simple mortal that we meet in Bastion and doesn't even qualify as a proper Kyrian. Yet, by the end of Shadowlands, our shy friend has ascended to the rank of Eternal One as the new Arbiter. If plain old Pelagos can do this, then why do we assume that beings like Denathrius, the Archon, the Primus, and the Winter Queen as the Pantheon of Death are such high-level cosmic characters?
Well, because you take a step up in cosmic power and scale when you do that, one would assume, right? When you go from, or maybe you don't.
What if, like Pelagos, they actually share much humbler origins?
Oh, he's saying in comparison. I see.
Focusing on the Winter Queen, her Automa vessel is named the Prototype of Renewal.
Yep.
And casts a few abilities aligned with Arcane, Nature, and Anima. On the other hand, the real Winter Queen, presumably a vessel that does contain her cosmic spirit, only casts one ability, Cosmic Starfall. Starfall is traditionally a druid spell, but it's inspired by Tyrande Whisperwind's hero ability in Warcraft 3. And Tyrande, a priestess of the moon, is no druid. There are exceptions though, and in classic WoW, Night Elf priests had a unique racial class ability named Star Shards.
Oh, I see. And this'll, I see what, okay. The book that's in the thumbnail, like, it makes more sense. Okay.
which is effectively starfall for priests. The thread that connects these night elf priests and druids to stars is Elune, supposed sister to the Winter Queen. You see, Elune isn't just a goddess tied to life, as she seems to be a focus in multiple cosmic.
Says here, the Night Fae of this realm seem unable or unwilling to provide details that might substantiate my theory, though I did locate one source who, when pressed, admitted to having overheard the Winter Queen refer to a certain life-bound deity as her sister. A familial term that would seem ill-fitting when used in reference to a being who is directly contrary to her very nature. Yet, just as the Winter Queen assumed her place in the Pantheon of Death, this apparent counterpart took up a similar position in what we must hypothesize to be a Pantheon of Life. I think that's so funny because, in essence, that's what the Titan Pantheon is. They see it as the Pantheon of Order. People are just so fucking blind, though, because they didn't read Chronicle, where Chronicle overtly states that the Titans are sworn to protect life at all costs. So if there is a Pantheon of Life, it probably is the Titans. But we call it life-bound. We think about Eonar, the life-binder, a certain life-bound entity as her sister. So, is it Eonar, or did Eonar bind her, life-bound? So it just depends on how you want to look at that.
Domains. From the Emerald Dream and Ardenweald cycle to the Divine Light channel.
I also think the idea of a pantheon for each force fucking sucks. And I'm not saying that's not a Xaxxas speculation. That's just something that people believe is a thing, which kind of drives me insane. It's fucking giga lame. Yeah, I agree. Lifebound just means she's attached to her duty. Yeah, you might think that, but as someone who has read a ever-living fuck ton of literature on this game, I don't agree with you guys. So
she seems to be a focus in multiple cosmic domains. From the Emerald Dream and Ardenweald cycle to the Divine Light channeled by her sisterhood priestesses, her influence is felt across life, spirit, and light. The two most mysterious entities in her orbit are the Naru and the Winter Queen.
Why are we not associating Elune with the Void? Unless that's what spirit is. Never mind, I'll let him cook.
The two most mysterious entities in her orbit are the Naru and the Winter Queen. The Winter Queen's visual flair offers subtle visual and behavioral nods to.
Also, what some of you could be suggesting is that it's saying life-bound as in bound to the duties of life, but it doesn't mean that Elune is originally of life. Right? So she could be something else that was bound to life. What about order? What about it?
To a Naru identity. The way her antlers curve and branch like silhouettes of Naru eye sockets, giving her an almost crystalline symmetry. Her long draping moth wings are dotted with eye shapes and spread in a way reminiscent of Naru's spinning appendages. The Winter Queen's voice, booming and somber, carries a divine gravitas not unlike Zera. And even her domain of watching over dreaming spirits might mirror how Naru commune with mortals through their dreams.
So we're talking about the iteration of a first set of holy angelic beings that were essentially captured, fallen, or forced into other vessels by something else. So basically what Xaxxas is getting to here is the concept that, like, not getting to, but one of the things that he's saying is, like, we don't know what the energy and soul inside of these vessels are. So technically the things that we know as Titans or Eternals, etc., could have once been Naru, right? So there could have been, basically what it opens the door to a little bit more is, like, the concept of, like, eras of creation, different, different gods or godlike beings shuffling around, imprisoning one another. You know, you basically open the door for, like, the early stage of creation looking one way, and then a new thing gets introduced and the variable changes the board, right? And then it's over and over again.
So given that the Winter Queen is presented as a nature goddess, it's not that...
And that she doesn't belong here, which she doesn't, because she wasn't even originally here, which, if you paid attention on Ardenweald, you would know.
Surprising or unusual that she's using an astral spell traditionally related with balanced druids. But it's hard for me not to question how a motif of stars, the subject of astrology and astronomy, might relate the Winter Queen's stellar spellcasting and cosmic spirit to the astral presence of Naru like Zera, or an astral plane like the Twisting Nether. While Naru are not known to cast stellar or astral-themed offensive spells, further research shows that Holy Naru are not really known for having any offensive abilities, outside of Zerali's anguished cries in Revendreth.
Yeah, I guess it wouldn't really be an... I mean, how does one define the Blessing of Eternity? From the Naru on alternate Draenor. Is locking the orcs in stasis with a time spell not an offensive use of magic? Or can we consider it defensive because it's pacifying them and imprisoning them? Because that's a pretty direct use of Naru power to, like... It's not damaging them per se, but it's imprisoning them.
But the origins of the Naru may well tie to the stars themselves.
There was that... Well, Zero is trying to Lightforge Illidan, which isn't really like an attack. It's more like an infusion. That is from the Maghar quest, yeah. Right when you're like fighting them, there's a part where you like go over to like confront like the main guys or whatever. And the Naru descends from the sky and like casts this Holy Nova ability called Blessing of Eternity that locks all the Maghar in this time like stasis spell. And they can't escape from it. It's called Blessing of Eternity. It's fucked up.
The article tells us, quote, "The birth of the cosmos also flung shards of light throughout reality, and how, occasionally, clouds of fractured light gathered and gave shape to beings of far greater power,
That would mean Naru bodies are prisons in and of themselves? Yeah, welcome to, I think that's part of Gnosticism. Yep, welcome to some of the philosophies about what a body actually is.
Potential. Those being the Naru and Titans.
But yes, the Naru being shaped into the form that they are could have quite literally been an imprisonment tactic.
Light throughout reality, and how, occasionally, clouds of fractured light gathered and gave shape to beings of far greater power, of far greater potential. Those being the Naru and Titans. I've argued before that this line about shards of light is about the closest thing to a description for what stars are in the Warcraft universe.
I don't know, man. Fucking Chronicle, man. Having to use Chronicle CV1 as the only fucking reference point is such a shit show. Because I just don't fucking trust it. At all. And what Xaxxas does is takes it and tries to make sense of it, but I just don't trust it. So, I just really have a really hard time with
Shards
this.
of Light is about the closest thing to a description for what stars are in the Warcraft universe. Especially when paired with that Night Elf priest racial named Star Shards. By this definition, it sounds like the Naru's physical form may be pieces of these shards of light, whether they were forged by orderly hands or
Yes.
a natural phenomenon is still up for debate.
Yeah, there's no chance that there's one of them that just has the word Eonar above it as an anagram and that they weren't forged. Zira flat out says, I am among the first of the Naru to be forged at the crucible of all creation during the great ordering of the cosmos. That doesn't mean that all Naru are like that, and maybe there were some that predated that, but when you have a prime Naru telling you that, you can't ignore that.
As well, you may remember in Legion when Archmage Khadgar successfully activated the heart of the prime Naru, using the Titan relic, the Tears of Elune. As he tells us, he found a clue indicating that the Naru may have been created by Elune during the Great Ordering of Light and Shadow. Even the prophet Velen suggested that the light of Elune reminded him of a powerful Naru.
It's really pissed Tyrande off.
So, if the Winter Queen is a sister of Elune, maybe it's not too far-fetched to consider a Naru as her original form after all. In Shadowlands, the Primus tells us, quote, "The Winter Queen is bound to her counterpart in the realms of life." And many have taken this to mean that Elune is this counterpart.
Right, and it just doesn't make any fucking sense to me because Elune exhibits void connections way more than life and stuff that we see with the dream. I have a really fucking hard time with this. If she's in the dream, where the fuck is she? If she's in the realms of life, where? If she's supposed to be her counterpart, prove it to me. You know? Where? Because I went there, I didn't fucking see her. Why is Eonar always getting in the way? It comes back to Eonar every single fucking time. If she was forged during the Great Ordering and the Naru are forged from crystalline Azeroth essence, then the Titans have known about Azeroth a lot longer than they've told us. Hey, another Titan lie. Guys, why do you think the fucking song from Azeroth was heard in Koresh? They've been doing this for eons, bro. People just, we don't have a scope of the time because we can't even comprehend it. Azeroth is literally a planet that was morphed and built by them. Like, people don't even realize that. That's why Xalatath says the entire existence of your world is a fraction of the time that has passed. The entire existence of what your world is a fucking smidge on what has happened. But people can't see that. They think Azeroth has just always been. Did you guys know that Azeroth, the planet, is alleged to have been like a newly formed and newly kind of shaped planet in Chronicle? That like a new world was taking shape in the distant reaches of the cosmos and the Titans didn't know anything about it? Like, bull fucking shit, dude. Bull fucking shit. Unless it was someone else doing it, like Elune, and then they showed up and took it from her, then no. This shit has been going on forever. Forever.
Bound somewhere within the Emerald Dream. Well, I'm not so sure of this two-way binding.
Bound in the Emerald Dream. Every day, man, it just seems like we get closer and closer to just conceding that Elune is Azeroth. Am I the only one who feels that way and the only one who's a little irritated by it? It feels every day, it feels to me like with every theory, we get closer and closer to just being like Elune is Azeroth. And I fucking hate that. Like, I just can't, I don't want it, dude. They're gonna fucking probably do some shit like that, and I don't want them to do that. And that's really what it seems like. Because you have Thrall with the whole voice of Azeroth calling out like a voice from a dream. You know, it's just, wouldn't really like that. Doesn't really make sense. It's also lame. I agree, which is why I don't like the feeling that that's where they're going. I really hope she's a separate entity, maybe pulled from the Prime World Soul to become a moon. Elune seems to like order too much to be the arbiter of free will. Fucking Elune, man.
Myself, one could speculate that both the Winter Queen and another Naru, or even Elune herself, are originally light-based Naru-like entities who have been bound into servitude by the Makers, forced to maintain and protect life within the afterlife.
Sure, but even if the Titans forged the Naru, what did they forge them out of? Like, what spirit or soul, so to speak, are you making them from anyway? Right, so this is why, like, the story about creation happening via shards of light is just seems way too convenient, doesn't it? It seems like the Titans have set up a story where they want you to believe that Azeroth is a giant crystal and that the Naru are the voice of creation from her, right? Why don't I believe that? Why don't I believe that? Why does it feel more like that's not true and that this all came after? This is all the Titans' hand upon creation. This cannot be what originally happened. There's no fucking way. You know, following Xaxxas' logic, Ganir might be a vessel for Elune, or where she is bound, perhaps. I have stated before that Elune being bound into a tree and that tree linking perhaps directly to Yasharaj would be rather compelling, especially because Yasharaj seems to cause emotional instability or feed off of emotional instability, something Elune has directly fucking shown a couple times. We kind of see the same binding with trees as well, like the Grove Seeds and Ardenweald. Like I've said, Dark Side of the Moon, Black Forest, Elune, bound to a fucking tree, which may as well be Yasharaj as well. You know, I'm totally into that. Her favorite children are literally trolls, but ordered. She fucks with arcane magic hard. She seems to at least have at least one point had a positive relationship with at least one Titan, Eonar. But then I ask you as a question, why does Eonar and things like Elune and the Earth Mother overlap so much? How come for 20 years they let us believe that Ysera and Alexstrasza both came from Eonar? Why did they do that? Why is Eonar's Pillar of Creation a tier of Elune? Why is there so much crossover? Who is Eonar? What is she? Again, are they sisters? It's just, I get a little, I'm frustrated at the speculation about this, which is, I mean, it's all speculation because that's what it is, right?
Forced to maintain and protect life within the afterlife. And it begs the question, is Shadowlands death magic even real death?
No, not at all. And no.
Or is it the spirit of life, preserved eternally, undying and undecaying, protected from the end of all things, and
I mean, until the mechanism itself was used against them, but even in the jailer's plot, yeah, I don't know.
And used as fuel in the meantime. Well, that's a whole can of worms unto itself. So, as we wrap up, allow me to present one final piece of this Naru and Winter Queen puzzle. The new cosmetic offhand item, Sermons of the Naru, was added in patch 11.05 and is sold to the anniversary vendors. This tome, at first druidic in appearance with its wooden cover and leafy corners, interestingly enough has a bright sigil of a blue Naru on it, with deeper blue gems set into the frame. Considering the mission of the Naru that we've seen in-game and heard about in Chronicle, that is, to protect and nurture life wherever they found it, it's no surprise again that we might find them involved in the lighter sides of druidic practice. But is this book perhaps telling us more? Let's talk about Blue Naru and Holy Blue Crystals for a minute. In Stranglethorn Vale, there is an item called the First Troll Legend, which tells us of a holy blue crystal protecting the eternal spirits of their fallen brethren. Titled A Moon Over the Vale, the legend reads, quote, "A moon over the vale shines, casting its glow upon the jungle, where proud warriors heed the call to defend our nation and sacred grounds. A moon over the vale shines, far above the cries of battle, foe and comrade alike. And when our brethren pass into the realms beyond the known, the soul spirit hardens deep beneath the veil. And when our brethren pass into the mountain's temple, we shall protect their eternal spirit, encased within the holy blue crystal."
Yeah. This is a literal, easy, direct connection between the trolls and Elune. If Elune is an elf now, she wasn't before.
So what is this blue crystal? What is the mountain's temple? And how fascinating is it that the soul spirit is described to harden much like a soul gem? The legend reads in a way as if one of the moons is closer and inspires the warriors, while one stays afar and bleakly sees the bloodshed on both sides. But which is which? Azeroth's moons are the White Lady and the Blue Child. And considering that this holy blue crystal is given significance alongside a moon, I'd be willing to bet that it's the Blue Child that correlates to the Troll's afterlife domain, referred to as the Mountain's Temple, which we may know as the Other Side.
Okay, I got lost.
When our brethren pass into the Mountain's Temple, we shall protect their eternal spirit, encased within the holy blue crystal. So what is this blue crystal? What is the mountain's temple? And how fascinating is it that the soul spirit is described to harden much like a soul gem? The legend reads in a way as if one of the moons is closer and inspires the warriors, while one stays afar and bleakly sees the bloodshed on both sides. But which is which? Azeroth's moons are the White Lady and the Blue Child. And considering that this holy blue crystal is given significance alongside a moon, I'd be willing to bet that it's the Blue Child that correlates to the Troll's afterlife domain.
And it could, but what about this? Didn't you show this? Is this not a holy blue crystal that holds inside of it the souls of the elves? And this is a Tear of Elune. So are we now saying that the Tear of Elune is not a Tear of Elune? And it's a Tear of the Winter Queen? Or does it have to be both? Because we see in the instance of them coming together through Tyrande and through the Winter Queen to make this seed, right? Or it's a... It looks just like a Tear of Elune, but it's white and like almost purplish and blue. So we see something where the Winter Queen and Elune have a hand in its making, and it looks a particular certain kind of way. And then we have one that's alleged to be just a Tear of Elune that looks completely different. I don't understand.
Referred to as the Mountain's Temple, which we may know as the Other Side,
Maybe
seen in
Collaborus.
Ardenweld, and is a subsection of the Winter Queen's domain.
Yeah, they definitely connect.
Some of Azeroth's first recorded followers of Elune were actually dark trolls, who crept from the jungle thickets and found the Well of Eternity, communing with the Goddess of the Moon, who they believed slept within the well. Though we might compare these blue crystals...
Yeah, that's just really alarming to me because I say all the time that N'Zoth was imprisoned in the Well of Eternity. So, like, the fact that the trolls believed Elune was in there is, like, real fucking weird.
Crystals to a relic like the Tears of Elune, they may not necessarily be of the moon's origin. Because, also found in Stranglethorn Vale, there's a cave called Crystal Vein
I think Eonar is her daughter, and the tear was made when the Titans betrayed Elune.
Mine. Here, basilisks eat the crystals, and a quest has the player gather items called Singing Blue Crystal.
It's also blue and purple, like Arcane, and it's singing, which is very much like a Naru.
Could it be that the ancient trolls had access to something, or somewhere, from within these caves that we fail to perceive today? Khazalgar's Haranir and their mystical hidden homeland certainly comes to mind, with its potential links to the astral nature of the Emerald Dream. So what does this have to do with Naru? Recently, we've seen Titan records indicating that there are crystals within Azeroth claimed to be the calcified essence of the World Soul. And this mirrors the Troll's legend of the Soul Spirit hardening into the earth. While I don't believe that Belladar is necessarily made of the same crystal substance that the Arathi's Keyflames are, it is curious that there is a giant, seemingly Naru-aligned temple ship jammed into the mountainous deep. And Naru are no strangers to dealing in souls and spirits after all.
I mean, if we're going to talk about souls and spirits coalescing into crystals and shit, you guys should go take a look at Thragar's Rest in Dornogal. Especially after looking at the color of these troll statues.
Elune, they may not necessarily be of the Arathi's Keyflames are, it is curious that there is a giant, seemingly Naru-aligned temple ship jammed into the mountainous deep. And Naru are no strangers to dealing in souls and spirits after all. It seems to me that Belladar's arrival likely wounded the world, seeping out its spirit-filled lifeblood and crystallizing, as Titan blood often does in the few examples we've seen. These calcified chunks of the World Soul's essence have been utilized and shaped for many purposes by the Titan-forged and Arathi alike, as we see many little gold crystal torches across Khazalgar built by the Earthen. The Beacon of Tyrhold also comes to mind. The correlation between the Arathi Keyflames, Azerite, and Beladar may be explained by the understanding provided by the Troll's legend of soul spirit hardening into crystals, and give us a sly clue to how the first shards of light at the beginning of the cosmos may have come to be.
From mortals. So, am I understanding correctly that you're suggesting that these divine beings were crafted from the condensed spirits and souls of mortals, that perhaps together combine into some kind of divine awareness that we call a Naru? Because this is essentially just another instance of the concept of mortal ascension, whether it's a Loa, or whether it's a Naru, or whether it's this, that, or the other. It really opens the door to the possibility that things like Elune, or Anshe, or Sargeras were once mortal, or conglomerations of mortals, or something like that.
Like with all of the Shadowlands, the Winter Queen is more than meets the eye. And you might be asking, if the Winter Queen has a Naru soul, why isn't she casting holy or light magic spells? The answer to this goes deep into how much of a construct the Realms of Death truly are, and what magics are even being used there. Anima, the so-called death magic we deal with in Shadowlands, is spirit, mana, energy reaped by a machine.
Correct.
Magics are even being used there. Anima, the so-called
Maldraxxus uses green magic, so
magic we deal with in Shadowlands is spirit, mana, energy reaped by a machine.
Maybe Azeroth birthed Elune? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where my mind is, that it's Azeroth and then Elune and Anshe and then things after that, but who fucking knows?
Magic we deal with in Shadowlands is spirit, mana, energy reaped by a machine, life as fuel for an engine.
Yep.
True forms of death, like decay and destruction.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I see what's going on here. Obviously, they use it, and that's why they use that picture too. It's even looks like Argus, actually. Spirit. And Argus is basically just a mirror of it. Except instead of the Ouroboros and Shadowlands, it's demons, and it's Argus itself. Spirit being used, life as fuel for an engine. So on this side, you have a more chaotic version of what the Shadowlands is, to a degree. I kind of like that. Where like this is like an attempt or different variation of this. I like that a lot. That's really interesting to think about. It's like a replication of the same mechanism, just way more brutal and chaotic. Do you think that the Titans actually made Azeroth pregnant to get a new creation deity that they can then manipulate and shape, but out came two children, Eonar and Elune? Sargeras has to be considered. I mean, he's on fire. He's basically like Unicron, so Sargeras has to be one of them. He's the thing that they can't control. You know what I mean? He's like the thing that they can't control.
What if the Winter Queen, this sister of Elune, is no true goddess of death after all? Her stellar spellcasting, methods used within her astral realm, and her role in the renewal of wild souls reveal her intentions as a Naru agent.
Regardless of the Naru thing, the concept that she's like a goddess of life and renewal that was turned into a goddess of death is really cool, because that basically mirrors Argus, who is another thing that gets considered for the Blue Child pretty frequently. And so what this can begin to look like is that maybe there were two sisters and two realms, right? Or maybe the sisters had all their own realms in the Emerald Dream or something. Or even inside of reality. Who fucking cares? In that her spirit was taken and integrated into the system that is the Shadowlands in order to create a connection, but also subvert the rest of the imprisonment mechanism. To me, it would seem to imply that Elune could also be imprisoned. And if she were imprisoned, what we're very much led to believe, I think, is that it's in the Emerald Dream, right? And we know that there are realms in the Emerald Dream that are aligned with void and death and other things like Thros. So while we went to the garden that is the Emerald Dream, we didn't really get to explore it. So Elune could very well be imprisoned somewhere in the Emerald Dream.
Nurturing life and the spirits that spring from it. Whether she was a shard of Elune herself or shaped by the Makers as a servant to the undying cycle of life, the Winter Queen may not embody the shadow of mortality, but instead is a warden over life within the afterlife, preserving spirit in a prison of Order's design.
Yeah.
Because, as they tell us, life is chaos, and it must be controlled. Heroes, this is just the beginning of a paradigm-shifting theory that I'm working on in collaboration with fellow Warcraft enthusiast, Pyromancer, as we delve deeper into the origins of life itself. Thank you for tuning in.
That was a paracausal fragment of Sessional.
Deeper into the origins of life itself. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Knowledge Wars, where the truth isn't just out there, it's polymorphed in layers of anima shrouds and titan machinery. Remember, you are the resistance to the Maker's soul matrix. Now, we have a goblin to save.
Hell yeah.